Okay, that's working. And so is that. And we should be good. So what are we up to today? Well, we're gonna unbox some stuff that spoiler alert, I actually already opened. Because I got here early in the week and I was very excited to start working on it. But the nice thing of that is that instead of just showing you like plastic sprues, I can actually show you put together models and primed models and stuff, right? Because I got them primed last night. I'm starting to paint them now, so it's pretty cool. So what do we got? We've got stuff for a never-ending war, which I think is pretty fitting to do on um, July 4th. I think that's kind of fitting to do some soldiers on July 4th, on America's birthday. So this is stuff for this Quars War, um, which is it's sort of a war game that's been around for a while now. It's been around for like 10 plus years. It's done by this guy called Zombie Smith Games, and it's essentially this like never-ending World War One esque war between like these two different factions of like rainbow-colored anteater things. Um, I'm gonna be super honest. I hate the heads on these. I hate them so so much. But I love the rest of the designs. I love the pseudo realistic army gear and the kind of whimsical stuff brought into that, but I hate the heads. Thankfully, I've solved that because instead of having these weird little detailless tube men that look like the things from Worms, I have little possums. Little possums. Come on, focus on my little possum, please. Whoop, whoop. There we go. Yeah, I've got little possums. I've 3D printed them little possum heads, and I have made them little possum tails. So instead of playing this Quars War, I'm going to be playing this Possums War. And I'm going to have a whole set of guys on both sides to, yeah, little possum dudes to murder each other. So we'll talk about that kind of at the end and kind of like my kind of goal with these miniatures, right? Sort of what I intended with them. But first off, we should open them up and show you what you get in the box, because frankly, these miniatures, even though I don't like the heads of the design of the creatures, the miniatures from Wargames Atlantic, fucking fantastic. These are great kits, and I would not be able to make my Dorbs little possums without these kits being so wonderful. So, all right. So what do we got here? Well, we've got our box. And it's got a cool piece of artwork. It's very like pseudo historical piece of artwork. I really like it. And they're kind of in like this field with like these silly mushrooms, and it's got a lot of cool kind of silly feeling to it. It's really cool piece of art. And on the back, we can see what we're gonna get. So we're gonna get some of these Crusader guys, and then we're gonna get some of the Croft Troyans. So my understanding for this is like these guys are like progress and kind of like homogeny versus like I don't know, unwillingness to change, but uh like heritage, I guess. So pretty cool stuff. Pretty cool stuff. So we're gonna get 24 of those, 12 on each side. And when you see the sprues, that'll make sense. And then we're gonna get our rulebook, and we're gonna get our cards and that kind of stuff. So, whoop. And when you open it up, The sprues are missing things. No, this is where those minis that I showed off a couple minutes ago came from, obviously. Um, but uh, yeah, you can just wanted to point out like the insane amount of extra bits you're gonna get. You're gonna get a crazy amount of extra bits. So yeah. So I've got a couple of these, right? Like they just still have tons and tons of bits on them, which is pretty cool. So you're gonna get 4 of this sprue right here. And this is kind of like the trooper sprue. So if you were to buy the boxes as standalone, this is what you would get, like essentially half of this. Because one half of this sprue is 3 guys for each side. So we have 3 guys here for Crusaders, and then 3 guys here for the Croft Troyans. And kind of like all the Crusader options are down here, all the Troyan ones are up here, right? So it's kind of like if you divided it in the middle, and you would have this one sprue, and it would have 2 dudes on it, which is pretty cool. So there's a lot of really cool parts in here I want to point out. So each one of the bodies, they have a little puddle, but the puddles are very small, so I don't mind that. And then you get kind of like a front for each body. Now the fronts aren't interchangeable, they go to specific bodies, but honestly they're generic and uniform enough that I don't really feel the need to change the fronts. Like I think they're fine even as duplicates. Um, Down here we're gonna get a whole bunch of these like what looks like BARs, but they have like a big water cooled barrel, which is really cool. And then there are these kind of like heavier, what I think are like kind of some kind of support rifle, which has a really big magazine to it, right? So it's like some kind of like 50 cal assault rifle. That's pretty freaking dope. And then we're gonna get 4 different heads. One with like a non-helmet. This one's got like a, I don't know, like kind of like a silly baseball cap. And these guys each have their little helmets on. But you're gonna get enough to either build these guys with the big 50 cal rifles or with the water cooled rifles. So you actually get 4 different arms to the water cooled rifles because there's also one that can be like stowed. And then you're gonna get a whole bunch of pouches. And pouches are awesome. So lots of cool little pouches and stuff. And these are backpacks. I didn't put all the backpacks on my Crusaders, but I'll show you those. That'll make sense in a minute. But yeah, just super super cool stuff. And with this bro, you can make stuff like this guy, right? So this is one of the guys made from this sprue. Um, Pretty adorable. I didn't put the backpacks on all of these guys. I only put the backpacks on the Crusaders who sort of like were heavy weapon guys. So like this guy, the heavy weapon guy from the Specialist sprue, he got a backpack. The regular Crusaders didn't all get backpacks. And I did that because I wanted to differentiate between the 2 factions a little more. But yeah, really cool. Um, One of the things I really like about these miniatures is the designs of them feel very like pseudo realistic. Like if you look at this equipment, it all looks like bizarro world versions of stuff the US and British had in like World War One, like and Vietnam. And I think that's really, really cool. Right? So this rifle kind of looks like a BAR, but it's got like a water cooled like not Bren gun. Maybe it's Bren gun? The big British heavy, I think it's Bren gun, yeah. The big British like water cooled LMG that they had in World War II. But it's got like a big barrel like that, which is just kind of silly, right? And then they have this kind of like assault rig, which kind of has like a bunch of pouches, like what the U.S. had in Vietnam. Um, and it's just really cool. It's got a lot of personality, and it's got this cool like pseudo realistic kind of like fantasy historical kind of feel to it, and I really like that. And then yeah, they don't have to be these anteater things. Like I'm showing, you can turn them into possums. So pretty darn cool. Now the other side of this is a Croft Troyans. Um, they have a lot of like these kind of bolt action, kind of pseudo musket looking guns. Like these really kind of look like muskets. And they have these things which I think are supposed to be like gas mask canisters. Um, Now, each one of these, there's going to be, let's see, one, two, three, four, five of these musket kind of guns, and then there's like a SMG, which is sort of like a bullpup SMG, because all these are actually kind of like bullpup guns. Yeah, you can probably see it. The little magazine goes in the back. Um, so yeah, there's two little SMGs, which I think are supposed to be the like the commander machine gun kind of pistol thing. And then these guys actually get what I think is like a heavy or LMG, like a light machine gun to go with them, which is pretty cool. But you can definitely see the design difference, right? Like how much more this looks like. It really looks like World War One, but mixed with a lot of design elements from Vietnam. Like this gun is very like 1960s assault rifle. The one with the big magazine. I think that's really cool. And then these guys down here, they're almost like Napoleonic and World War One, like French and German mixed, and that's pretty cool. So they're gonna have these big backpacks. I already clipped one of the backpacks out of this. They're gonna have these kind of like big backpacks with an entrenching tool and that kind of stuff. They also have a bread bag, which literally has little baguettes sticking out of it, which is pretty darn cool. Um, and their gear, you can see it's a lot less like pouchy, and it's more um, like kind of what you would see on like American like Revolutionary War troops, where they kind of had these like rigs, I guess, and what it really carried was like their backpack, but it was like a belt and like a chest rig and stuff. And then these guys actually they have these little metal plates in the center of their chest, and this was a thing the Germans did in World War One called a Gernschwer. They have a name, but they're these little metal placards that they carried, and they had like it was sort of like a badge you'd think like police have now, right? And it kind of had like their rank and like their unit and stuff in it. Um, so that's kind of cool. A neat little like kind of blending of realistic pieces, and I think that's really cool. I think that's one of the big draws of this war game is it is this. It's like a silly fantasy world, but it's got all these kind of real world blends in it, which is pretty cool. So yeah, so you're gonna get this fruit. You're gonna get four of them, three guys on each side. Pretty cool. We've got a big piece of art here with this guy looking very sad. Um, R.I.P. homie. And then on the back, we've got I guess like a cheat sheet. Yeah, for like the different guns um, and stuff. So that's pretty cool. Nice. So it's like a uh, piece of art and a quick start guide or a cheat sheet. Now, you're also gonna get a whole bunch of the bases. Um, I freaking love these bases. These are the new bases from War Games Atlantic. They are phenomenal. So, it looks like a standard base, right? Hole in the middle. What's that for? Well, if you don't like the fact that your guys have puddles on them, you can spin these over and turn them into lipped bases, and then that hole becomes still a place for the magnet to sit. So they can either have the lip down on the bottom, like this, like a normal like GW base, or they can have this hole here still for a magnet, and your guy can sit in there in the puddle. I think this is freaking ingenious. I love these bases. They're very slim. They're very low line. They are phenomenal. Whoever designed these needs a raise. Like straight up, these are fantastic. The problem with these bases is that what the hell, War Games Atlantic? Why are these not on your STL store? Right? This 2025, I don't want to pay $15 for a bunch of bases, especially when I can't get them in sizes that I want, because I want to put troops with their fucking artillery gun, and you don't have an equivalent to do that with these. So, War Games Atlantic, why the fuck are these not on your STL store? So these bases need to be on the STL store, but they're fantastic bases. I really wish they had the STL for them, but because, like I said, I want extra bases. Um, and also beyond that, I don't want just more of these bases. I want different sizes. Like I showed this guy here with his turret gun. Right, there's like a guy with an artillery gun. It's from the specialist sprue. We'll look at that in a minute. But also, there's tanks coming, and I hate when tanks and stuff don't have bases. It drives me bonkers. All my vehicles need to have bases. They all need to match. So, um, yeah. So the fact that you can't get these bigger sadly makes these useless. But they're fantastic, fantastic bases. Now we're gonna get this really nice printout of the rule book. It's kind of cool. It's got some neat styling, like Department of Strategic Affairs kind of thing. Um, but really cool. So, whole thing's 45-ish pages. Gives you a little bit of background on what the quar are, the different attributions that are there, die roll, skill checks, measuring, random outcomes. Pretty cool stuff. Now, if I'm not mistaken, majority of this is available on the Morgan's Atlantic website or on the Zombie Smith website. So, yeah. Now, the cool stuff like this is really cool. And I'm going to be super honest, I wish they had gotten this guy who drew this to draw this. Because that would have been really cool. Because this is a really cool, like, historic looking art style. And if they had had, like, the uniform stuff in that, it would be really cool. So, yeah, so we can kind of see the teams are kind of set up. Now, the nice thing about like this squad setup that they have here, right, where the guys, you have like two guys with regular rifles and then guys with like heavy rifles, um, is that this kind of squad setup is actually going to work really well for one-page rules. Because you're basically going to be able to go boop, 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 and that's 3 one-page rules units. Um, so that works really well for this. But yeah, I do want to, call out special attention for the fact that I love the pseudo historicalness of this. It's really neat. Right? There's even little descriptions of what the different guns are, right? Which is super cool, right? Like this is a 12 millimeter semi-automatic standard rifle for all kinds of light infantry forces, right? Like this kind of stuff, this like pseudo historical stuff is really neat. Yeah. And see, like the patches go here, and like this is the regiment, and like that's super cool, right? That's super super cool. And you can see these guys are kind of set up differently. They're not like uniform squads. It's like a rifle squad and like a support squad. I think that stuff is super super cool, right? The Doru SMG, the Harlech long rifle, just fantastic. So rules for skirmishes, and then this Tails thing, I believe, is their campaign system, which is pretty cool. So yeah, just wonderful, 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 wonderful. Um, yeah, super cool. So you're gonna get that printout, very nice. You're also gonna get some dice. They're kind of whatever. And then we'll look at these in a second. But I want to point out that inside the box, there's actually a bunch of terrain that if you wanted, you could cut out. Like it's not pre-cut, right? It's kind of just printed in there. But if you wanted, you could cut it out and have some like kind of cardboard terrain. So that's there for you as well if you want it. I think that's a cute idea, but not necessarily like I wouldn't actually cut that out. You know what I mean? Now these are cool. These are actually one of the things that I'm having trouble figuring out what to do with. So these are the initiative decks. So each player is going to get a set of cards. And they're going to draw a card for your enemy, essentially. So, say it's your turn. I draw this card for you. I flip it over. It's got 3 leaves on it. the leaves are the number of actions that player gets. Now, I have to tell them when they ask me how many actions they have the correct number, but what that does, it means that you never know as the active player how many actions you're going to get right off. So this is kind of cool. It makes it hard to like plan what your guys are going to do, right? Because you'll be like, I really need the 5 actions this turn, but I only got 3. Shit, what do I do, right? And that's kind of a cool setup. However, that makes this very hard to play single player because it's not like I can like fool myself and be like, oh, do I have 5 actions? Let's see. Oh, I have 4, right? Like, you can't really do it in single player. So I'm not super sure how I'm going to handle that playing this by myself. But we'll figure something out, I'm sure. I always do. All right. And I think my husband just got lunch. So we're going to speed up a little bit so I can get some food because I'm hungry. All right. So let's look at the other 2 specialist boxes. Now, the specialist boxes are um, troops plus like special weapons and stuff, right? So they're essentially like expansion boxes for the box I just showed you. So you're gonna get 12 guys in here. I do wish you got a couple more. The 12 guys thing makes this about $2 a model. I wish that was a little lower. Like it's still a really good deal compared to like other games, but I do wish this was a little lower. So, and the one nice thing about that is that even if you buy this, you can mix all these parts into the other guys, so you can essentially have way more than 12 out of this if you have more bodies. So this is just talking about like what's in it. So these are the specialists, the 12 Troyans. You will also get bases in these, but I went ahead and pulled those out already. So then you get a whole bunch of empty sprues. No, these are again me pre-building some. So all right, let's see what you got. So you're gonna get one of the nice things on these specialist brews that you'll see repeated is that there are weapons that are kind of stowed or not being held. So you can kind of attach them to backpacks and stuff. But you're going to get a bunch of sniper rifles. You're going to get some fun accents. Like this guy here has this cool telescope. Here's some more SMGs. There's 3 SMGs. There's, I believe, 3 sniper rifles. Yeah, and 3 potential melee guys. So, yeah, so you're going to get 3 of those Doryu SMGs. You're going to get 3 of the sniper rifles with like the scope on them where it kind of looks like they duct taped it on, which is pretty cool. And you're also going to get a couple different poses for the kind of regular flintlock or musket kind of looking rifle. Now, one of the special things on this sprue is that you're also going to get some options for these kind of melee guys, where the Croft Troyans actually have these like spathas, which is really cool. They have these like, I don't know, kind of Roman looking short swords as their melee guy option. And they're really neat. They look very cool. They look very historic. Right here's kind of one of them. You do get one sheathed sword. I cut the end off so that my guy could have a sheath to go with his sword. Sadly, that means that if you want them to have sheaths, you're only going to get 3 melee guys out of the whole 12. If you want them to have the sheaths. So keep that in mind. If you don't, you can go ahead and you can make all your guys melee guys, which is pretty neat. So yeah, they look really cool. I like that a lot. Now the Crow Troyans, they have some wasted space on the sprue that I think this sprue probably could have been laid out a little better. And the wasted space is these extra torso fronts, because the only difference here is that some of these torso fronts have like a little like leather piece over their regiment identification, the like metal plate on their chest. They have like a little cover for that. And I feel like they could have maybe made those covers a separate piece, and then saved a good chunk of this, right? Like all this space could have been turned into something else. Like we could have gotten 2 more weapon options or something in there instead. But yeah. So you are going to get some different heads in here. There are some that look like they have like little face masks on, like Phantom of the Opera. There's some with buoy hats, and then there's some that are going to have these like plant kind of netting that goes like over the back of the head, which is pretty cool. Now, one of the other really neat things on here is this gun. This thing is awesome. It is a pain in the tail to put together, though, so keep that in mind. Um, but really, really cool weapon. So it's actually a like motorized little cannon. Um, yeah, it has like these two little treads, and it's just like kind of like, but pretty cool. It's like a little motorized cannon gun. Very, very fun stuff. Think that is super cute. Now I put that on a 40. You don't actually get a base for that in this box, so keep that in mind. But I threw it on a 40 with the gunner because I just thought it looked better. So, but yeah, super cool. Just basically more options for the Croft Troyans. The specialist box is very similar, right? It is essentially just more options for the Crusaders. And once again, empty sprue. And then, now this is the complete. Then we have this here. Now these guys, they got some cool options here. So there are options for melee guys who have like these trench clubs and these what look like shotguns that kind of fit in their hand. That kind of like sits over the back of the hand. Really super cool looking little gun. Um, did I already start painting one of those? Hold on. Problem is I already started painting some of these. Oh, I'm trying not to show them off because they're in that really ugly painting stage, but oh well. But yeah, really cool little weapon there. Goes over the hand. And then they got their little trench clubs. Um, and then you're also going to get shotguns. Now there are two shotguns on this sprue, I believe. One, and then there's another one down here. And they're just kind of like trench clearer kind of shotguns. And then you're going to get three of these Panzerfaust style rocket launchers. So there's one that just goes on a backpack, and then there's one being carried in front of the chest, and there's one being like stowed on the shoulder. And they're pretty cool. They are just like little rocket launchers. And they've got bags and stuff as well you can equip them with. And then you're actually also going to get three LMGs, so kind of light machine guns. This very Bren, I think it's a Bren gun, very Bren gun looking. It basically looks like the regular rifle but bigger. So you're going to get three of those in different poses as well. Now, much like the Croft Troyan sprue, you're going to get a bunch of weapons that are separate. All right, here's that where I think it was. I don't know. The big cow rifle. Right here's the little cow rifle. That kind of stuff. But you're also going to get some that have kind of like bayonets fixed, which I think is super fun. Um, I guess I haven't put heads on those guys yet. They're just over there. But yeah, so these guys are also going to get bayonets fixed. So you're going to get two shotguns, three LMGs, two rifles with bayonets fixed, three Panzerfausts, and three melee guys who can have trench clubs and pistols. So yeah. Also, again, tons of cool pouches and stuff for these guys too. But yeah, you get three of those sprues, four bodies on each sprue. But yeah, just wonderful, wonderful stuff. Um, I am super excited this afternoon. I'm going to be painting a bunch of these up. I cannot wait. This is going to be my afternoon working on these awesome little dudes. Um, Now, they do have a couple more boxes of these because Wargames Atlantic is apparently going all in on core, which I'm going to be honest is fantastic. But yeah, they've got three other boxes out that I don't have here. I'm going to be honest, I might pick them up. Oh, come on. Show off my little guy. Thank you. Um, so the other boxes are there is a box of like command sprues, like command like squad leaders and stuff for each faction. So there's a Croft Troyan box and a specialist box. And then there's a box of what are called fig logs, which are kind of like these quar, but they're kind of like shorter. And they actually have tanks on the plastic sprue. And those boxes look very, I don't know, they look very Italian to me. I don't know why, but yeah. So there's those three other boxes in addition to this. And then I believe there's also sprues coming for larger plastic tanks, which I'm going to be honest, is super exciting. It's really cool how big this line has got from, because to be honest, I kind of thought this box, which is the first one that came out, would kind of just be like a one-off kind of silly thing. But no, it's becoming a full line, and that's really exciting. And even more exciting, you drop pieces on the floor. Even was that I just dropped? Oh, plastic ladder. I don't even know what that's from. Even more exciting when you turn them into possums. So yeah. So gonna figure out how to play some of this Possums War on the channel soon. But yeah. So that's everything I've got here. Awesome products. Cannot recommend them enough. Just wonderful. My only complaint, like I said, is that I want more. Right? I want more bases. I want more dudes. It's cool stuff. So yeah, looking forward to that, and hopefully we'll get to play some on the channel, which would be pretty cool. Worst case, I think these guys again will be great for one-page rules, right? Grimdark Future Firefight, like holy shit, you could do so much with these. It would be really cool. So worst case, we'll use them for that if I can't figure out how to get the rules to work single player, because it does have that weird activation thing. So all right, but that's it for me. Thank you guys for watching. I hope you have a good one, and keep on keeping on.